Yep. The Finance Audit Tender Administration Committee, Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. So call number 2, declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Not seeing any in the room. Number 3, approval of agenda.
Just under new business, I just want to give a notice of motion. Or do you want me to wait till we go to new business?
Is that not number 7?
Yeah. Or do you want me to wait until we go to new
Wait
business?
to go to 7? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. On approval of agenda, I'd like to make had a brief discussion here amongst the committee to go into a closed session as it relates to a topic regarding cybersecurity, and that would reference section 119 of the 119.1 G and H of the MGA Act. So if I could have a motion to approve that, to go into, moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor Drong. All those in favor? All right, 3-0. All right, so that's, and that will be, in terms of order, want to go there now and have it done, or does it, is that okay? I would say yes. Okay. So we'll be making, anyway, we're going to that session now. And Tamara, are you? Right here. Yeah, just have a mover to go back into an open session. Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor Drong. Thank you. Are we, we're back live?
Yeah, we're back live.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, just moving on with my agenda here. Item 4, approval of the previous draft minutes of August 7th, 2024. And just,
Moved.
pardon me?
Moved.
Moved and seconder, just, is there any discussion? I have a question on, Mayor Brown, you have your light on, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, just, yeah, just on the minutes and the short note there that was on the update, of the procurement bylaw. Just kind of want to, I guess, understand, September, Dan, we were hoping to have, I guess, some kind of indication or perhaps critical path of where we are with the, the procurement bylaw. I know that I certainly want to see us get to a point here in the short term where we, are we going to stay on the path that we're on? Or are we going to look at, possible change of direction and purpose around what this is going to look like? And if you could maybe, Dan, just give us an indication of where you think we are with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So yes, as indicated last week, I'm elbows deep in procurement, looking at other jurisdictions and manuals and trying to review the draft policy that we had back, both from the work that Betty and her team did and the draft policy from 2020. So yeah, still on tap to hopefully get back to committee and council in September to give you some more definitive idea in terms of the work remaining and timelines. Yeah.
With, just if I could, with the time and the energy that you've been putting into it, and you mentioned, I know there's been documents shared, the City of Guelph, what their piece kind of looks like, and then the last, the last committee, I guess, in 2020 that there was that. I'm just wondering, with those kinds of, with those kinds of templates, do you feel that, you're getting any closer to putting something in front of the committee that that will kind of meet the, and again, if this document, procurement bylaw, at least gets to, a stage, it's probably never going to be perfect, and I guess it's always going to be, but I'd like to think the improvement and what's coming is certainly going to be significantly ahead of where we are now, which is, I guess, a two-pager, and there's been, there has been situations have happened of late that probably have gotten us into some, some situations that are not in anybody's best interest. So I just like to have your comments on that.
Sure, thanks, Chair. I guess I'd like to use an analogy. Procurement is not just a bylaw. Procurement is a process, and it's a complicated one. So in the same way that you might have a piece of software with a volume of manuals that address every different situation and switch that you can turn on and turn off, and it's not just a matter of having the document to say this is how it will be. You need people to deliver that. You need to train the people to be able to follow those protocols. So it's not just the policy. It's about how we do procurement. And right now, I think we chatted about this time when we talked about this last, is we have a very decentralized procurement approach. So the departments kind of develop their own projects and work with consultants to develop tender specifications and so on. And we have very little in terms of resources. We have some really good people working on it, but for example, the University PEI has, I think, 6 people full-time. That's all they do is procurement. And they wouldn't do a whole lot more business than we do. We don't have anybody really working full-time on procurement. So I think there's, we can look at ideal procedures and policies, but there will be an implementation phase of, what we bite off first in terms of what we're going to address and what processes we're going to change. You can't just throw a switch and change everything at once. If you look at just what I would call treasury, we don't have anybody in finance that just looks after treasury. So, managing the bank accounts, access to the bank accounts, approvals, managing changes to vendor banking information and profiles. So there are, I think, issues that relate to procurement, including treasury, that we want to look at. Maybe not all at once, but there are some significant improvements in the procurement bylaw that will help, or policy that will help in all those respects. But it's not as simple, Chair, as just printing a document and saying, here we go, Bob's your uncle, we're off to the races, because there's the people and organizational change that has to go along with that. So there will be a change management process that we go through to implement new procedures once we agree on what we'd like them to be. And that's kind of the first step, is to agree on where we want to go, and then the roadmap to get there, and then we sequentially, all of these people that are doing procurement are busy every day working to get the work done that they've been assigned. So new processes and training are off the side of their desk, and it's going to require some additional resources there.
So Dan, what I've consistently heard you say, there's a staff piece, short staff. I don't know if we're anywhere as close to putting 5 or 6 people dedicated to that. I don't know, but I'm out of my league in that. But what I'd like to get a sense of confidence in, and maybe this procurement bylaw has to be phase 1 and phase 1, phase 2 kind of thing. Maybe we don't, get to the stars on this first go. But I'd like to think by the end of this calendar year and going into our budget year that we've got maybe the first version of what we and it may not be, it may not have the staff you need, but I'm sure there's got to be a staff part to it. But that we can, and the rest of the committees here, they can share their thoughts as well. But I just think that I just kind of want to see this thing advance to at least, I'm going to call it phase 1, whatever that, I shouldn't say whatever that could look like, but if that's reasonable, to expect to see some advancement on this file.
Thanks, Chair, and certainly it's my interest to see procurement advance, and I think Betty's as well, and the staff have been very interested in trying to identify issues. I've spent myself quite a bit of time since coming into the role just trying to assist in the procurement piece. It is, we've had some hiccups on procurement, and I think part of that is reflective of the fact that we don't have deep corporate history or folks that have been doing procurement for the city for a long time in those positions anymore, so we've lost some key personnel. But as I said during budget process, we don't really raise money, we spend it, and the way we control that spending is through our procurement bylaw. So it's a very important piece of our Bible, if you will, in terms of how we conduct our business. So I would consider it a failure if we haven't made, some.
Can you give me just, to put you on the spot, I guess, but can you give me a yes or no answer as to, do you think that we can have, I'm going to call it a version, be it version 1, that we can have kind of done by calendar year, ready for next budget year? Is that conceivable?
I would, Chair, I would certainly expect that we would have a draft for committee and council to consider well before the end of the fiscal year. The deliberation, process in terms of, council needs to deliberate changes that would be coming and making sure that the procedures that are embedded in the new policy or bylaw are reflective of council's wishes in terms of how you want to conduct business. But certainly we would want to have a draft in your hands well before the end of fiscal year, so that there's, the discussion then takes place at committee and council.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you. And I never really wrapped my hand around this particular policy. I know it's been talked about, and is this more of an issue because we've had a lot of turnover and we have a lot of new staff? Or is this a whole new starting from scratch policy? Like, I guess I always looked at procurement policy, and we always had one, and there's times it gets updated. But when I hear you talk about staff have to be trained, how to use it, how to implement the new changes and stuff, that kind of scares me. Are we making large changes to the current policy? I thought the policy was just going to be updated. So now I'm hearing you saying, well, there's nobody really responsible for that. It's kind of on the side of a lot of different people's desks. So is it because a lot of people have left the organization and we have a lot of new people that don't have a lot of experience at the procurement policies? What's really the holdup that's driving the holdup?
I think that our procurement challenges have been largely a result of a lack of, or a loss of corporate history and personnel, key personnel that were managing that. And they had done it so long that they, were doing things that they were second nature, so they didn't really need a policy to go by. I think in terms of the policy that we have, I don't think it's going to be just an amendment to that. The policy that's there is very brief, and it doesn't really discuss or envision most of the procurement processes that we're currently using in any meaningful way, so that there's context and information there for somebody that's coming into a role in procurement to know what their actual.
But do we not mostly follow the Atlantic procurement agreement?
The Atlantic procurement agreement doesn't really exist anymore. That was an agreement amongst the maritime premiers, but it's largely been abandoned. And I think there's a joint procurement framework that the Maritimes have said, we'll try to work together on large procurement processes. But our major guiding documents are CETA and the Canadian Free Trade Agreement now, in terms of the larger volume.
So Dan, you can explain to me, where are our issues now with procurement policy? Because we obviously have something we're following, because we're always buying, we're always tendering, so we obviously have a guideline. So where are the issues that you see that the city needs to tighten up on, that's taken the time and the resources to try and get this in place?
Yeah, I can give you an example. So, small volume transactions or low value transactions that would typically be done, let's say we need some office supplies, so there's a purchase.
So under 25,000.
Yeah, under even 1,000. Our procurement policy doesn't spell out how those transactions happen, how they get approved, how the spending authority works. So that would be one example. But these are the kinds of this is the kind of scope stuff that I'd like to come back to committee with and give you an overview of where I think we are and where we need to invest.
So it's not holding the city up in any of our purchases right now?
No, not at all. No, we're continuing on as best we can, and trying to, step very carefully with each procurement. But as we've seen, as carefully as we step, we've had some missteps, and I think those missteps have been largely because we don't have documented procedures in place for certain types of procurements, and again, that lack of experience with handling procurement because we've lost some key people.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so one of the key persons that we lost was Steve Wedlock, who did do a framework, 28-page document that I sent to all members of this committee, and I think also staff members have it also. So we have that. To compare us to UPEI's operating budget for 24-25 was $183 million. And 70+% of that budget goes to salaries and benefits because of professors and staff. So I think the comparison with UPEI is not one that I would rely on. I think I would try to compare our municipality to, let's say, St. Thomas, Ontario, or somewhere similar size, and look what they have. That's why Kim Blue, who was home a couple of weeks ago, she's the manager of finance in Guelph, Ontario, and I said, can you send me a copy of your procurement policy or bylaw? And she did, and I forwarded it on. So that's a template we're using. So we have templates. To say that, the chair is saying that maybe by the end of this fiscal year, I don't think we have to wait until the end of the fiscal year. I think we can exhilarate, like we've been doing this for the last number of months. Let's look at seeing something by the end of this month or October, a template, and put that in place. If it has to be amended, we know with our procedural bylaw, we're amending that all the time, so this would be similar. It's put something in place, a template, just like we did with the summary offense ticketing system, and then we can start moving on. I think that, we have a good staff up there. We may be missing a couple of people that have moved on, but I think the corporate knowledge is still there. So let's get it done.
Dan or Betty, can you reply to that? Mayor's comments, suggestion? Are we digging the same tunnel, or are we in two different tunnels on this between the staff and the committee here?
Chair, to your worship, I think I would still like to defer to coming back to the committee once we've had a chance to do a good overview and come back with some context and a bit of a game plan, rather than responding to a request to expedite things in 30 days.
Give us a timeline. October, November? Yeah, I think you said by the end of this month, you're going to have a framework ready for us? Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so we can start working from there.
So, Mayor, okay, guess we beat that pretty good. Okay, any other business arising from the minutes? Okay, so we'll go on to item 6, discussions, reports. 6A, Building Safer Communities Funding Agreements. Betty French, Manager of Finance, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This report is regarding some funding that was applied for by, I believe it was the police, from the federal government, from the Building Safer Communities Fund. and we were approved for $490,910.91 over 2 years. And I believe it was the organizations themselves put forward an application, and those 2 applications were approved, so by the fund. So $468,897 for the Boys and Girls Club and $22,013 for the Inner City Life Skills Camp. So the agreement is attached here with the federal government for the funding to come to the city, and then the 2 agreements are attached to the 2 organizations. So as Dan mentioned earlier, that we're kind of the flow through, the money comes to us, and then we send it out to these 2 organizations. So the request here is seeking council's approval of this funding to the Boys and Girls Club and the Inner City Life Skills Camp, and it's funded from the Federal Building Safer Communities Fund.
Is there any comments, questions? Betty on this? Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, first of all, it's great. I don't know, it was a conjunction with the Boys and Girls Club or the Chief of Police, but great, they applied for it. They're $500,000. So I guess the only question would be seeing where the expenses are going. First of all, it's good news. It's really good news. So I would put a motion to move it forward as much you need, send it out to council.
All right, any other discussion on that? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I agree with
Mayor Brown?
Councillor Bernard that this is good news for the whole city, really, and how it affects our marginalized youth and vulnerable population, and the after-school program that the Boys and Girls Club offers. I know when I was at Prince Street, it was a huge success, so this is good news, and it's for 2 years. Betty, did the police or protection services police chief initiate this, or was it a collaboration with both the Inner City and the Boys and Girls Club of Charlottetown all working together? Could I ask you that, or would you?
Do you have any more information on this,
Because it's in the notes that the chief applied for it.
Yeah, I think the chief became aware of the funding being available and then reached out to the Boys and Girls Club and the skills, Inner City Skills Group, and they completed an application to get the funding, and it was submitted. And in terms of the way Councillor Bernard, through the chair, the intended spending of the funding is laid out in the budgets that were submitted by the applicants in terms of salaries and wages and rent and so on. And there's some extensive reporting requirements that we have to provide reports to the feds in terms of how the spending has happened, and the nonprofits have to report to the city periodically to get the advances as the money gets rolled out. So.
And it is noted in the report, city led by Chief of Police Brad McConnell. My point is that what a great collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club of Charlottetown, the Inner City Life Skills Program. Now, so as soon as council approves this, through the chair to Betty or Dan, the money starts flowing. Is that correct?
I don't believe we have actually received the money yet, so we will have to look at when we start to receive the money and flow it based on that.
Thank you.
I will add.
Councillor Bernard?
I will add. It's really great to see this. And I know this is geared towards your gang and gun violence and keeping people off the street, but I can tell you that when I became councillor for Ward 10, I mean, Hillsborough Park didn't have a very good name. the kids didn't have a lot to do, and it makes a big difference when you keep the kids busy. Because we started a couple of youth groups, we targeted the ages. And I think what happened was after amalgamation, when the community centers became part of the city, and they just basically locked up. And so you take kids around those ages of 11, 12, 13 with nothing to do. So you keep them busy, and you can turn the community around pretty quickly. So that's why I think this is great. I think it's a really good pot of money, and I think it will make a big difference. And the kids that now it looks like they want to recruit kids that may be going down the wrong road, which is good because this can save them. So, and I know the City Life Skills Camp is a very, very good camp also. So it's great to see. It's great for our youth, and it's great to see this money coming to Charlottetown. So, congratulations to Brad and these groups.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bernard, and certainly share the comments of both yourself and Mayor Brown, on this piece of funding. It's, it's great to see it. And Boys and Girls Club, I think, have been a great organization and partner in their purpose and mandate. So,
Well, I know the difference is made in Hillsborough Park, and the Mayor, you've probably seen it over the years what a difference is made. So it's.
okay, are there any other comments, questions on this piece? No? Questions call? All those in favor?
Yep.
Seconder, and all right, I've moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Bernard, all right.
Yep.
So, moving on, 6B, proposed amendments to Schedules A to C and E of the Fees Bylaw 2018-18. And the report, Cindy McMillan, but Cindy's not in the chamber, I don't believe. So is anybody in her absence?
Yes,
Betty?
I can speak to that one. So this is a housekeeping piece. These are some increases to fees that were included in the 24-25 budget, but had not been formally added to the bylaw. So this is to tidy that up. And the changes to the fees are as noted in the report there. And our plan moving forward is to be more consistent with how we do this at budget time. Like, for instance, I know the water and sewer rates, there was a report and a resolution brought forward at budget time to document the changes to the fees there, and we would like to have a consistent practice across all the departments.
Thank you for that, Betty. Any questions to Betty?
Yeah, I did. I'm just trying to find
Right,
it.
Councillor Bernard.
And I think a lot of information on that last topic we talked about. I'm just wondering, so I'm going to go on memory here, Betty. So today, are we agreeing to implement the increases that we're talking about at budget? Is that what we're doing, that never got implemented into the budget?
They have been implemented.
Yeah.
And were implemented, as I understand, as of April 1st. The bylaw was not amended to reflect that. So this is to reflect those changes in the bylaw.
So, okay, because in the notes here, it has the utility fees, but everything's stroked out.
What page is that on, Councilor?
Well, I'm on my phone, right? So it's page 75 I'm on. I'm on 75.
82.
So you good, Councillor Bernard, or waiting?
If it's all stroked out here, in red is usually the changes you want to make, so I assume you want to pull all that out? Is that
I can
correct?
speak to that, Chair. Through the chair to Councillor Bernard. So those utility fees that were in that section are now included in a separate schedule. I believe it's F, which is all the utility fees, kind of in one place. E, sorry. Yeah. So if you scroll down a couple more pages. Schedule E is page 81 or 82. So those, all the water and wastewater utility fees are included in that one schedule now as opposed to being,
So Dan, the street access to the $150 processing fee, did we approve that? Or was that just discussion?
I think all of the changes that are included in the schedule have been approved by council previously. As Betty mentioned, the bylaw, the fees bylaw just hadn't been updated to reflect all the changes. So it's updating the changes that had been previously approved by committee and council and also just organizing them a little better so it's a little more readable.
So if it's already been approved, what are you asking us here to do today?
Because it's a change to the bylaw, the fees bylaw is a separate piece of legislation, so just it needs to be approved by council in order to be adopted.
But if we've already approved it in the budget, would that not automatically change in the document?
You've approved the individual fees, so the ice rental fee for Simmons, for example. But those fees are then later reflected in this bylaw, and the bylaw can only be changed by council, so it has to be approved by council. So although the fee changes, the individual fee changes have been approved by committee and council previously, the bylaw as a whole hasn't been updated to reflect those changes.
So one wouldn't automatically trigger the other?
No.
Because if council approved it, then obviously that would need to change in the bylaw. So what you're saying is we approve it, and then we come back here and approve it again?
The bylaw as a whole, the change to the bylaw gets approved by, can only be approved by council.
Okay, I just think when it goes to a public meeting, it's confusion. That it looks like we're approving these fees again. Anyway, it just seems repetitive to me. I mean, once you approve it in the budget, it should just trigger the other changes to be made automatically, I would think. But anyway.
The bylaw is a law and can only be approved, so in order to, it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing that the individual fees have to be approved, both through the budget process and by committee and council, but the way the MGA is worded, that there should be a fees bylaw where we're charging fees for things that kind of encapsulates those.
When we pass a resolution to approve it, we can also put in that resolution that this is also approved to change the bylaw. It'll be all in one resolution, so it's done.
Yeah, I suspect that could be the case. Have to look in to see if that could be short-circuited.
Because that's all we're doing now. We're going a second time. So if we're approving it and then it impacts that bylaw, then in the resolution we can add that we also agreed to change the bylaw to show the change.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't remember the $150. I remember it being talked about, but I don't remember that $150 surcharge being passed. Maybe it was, because I never ever agree with it. But maybe it was.
That's on page 76.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor Brown?
Yeah, so Councillor Duran and Councillor Bernard, I know I was here back 2000, 2006, but over the last 4 or 5 years, I don't remember making this amendment to the fees bylaw and coming back here. It's the first time I've done it.
Yep.
Do you recall,
Same here, yeah.
Councillor Duran? This is the first time? So, I thought, when you make the changes through the budget process, as Councillor Bernard was saying, the changes would be made to the bylaw to reflect those changes that were agreed to by council and by a public resolution. I agree with Councillor Bernard. This might be a confusion. People will say, well, we did pass these changes, these amendments. Why are we coming back to it again? Again, Betty, Dan, we've never, in the last 5 years, it's the first time I've seen it. They've been here 2014, 2000. It's the first time he's seen.
So, Chair, through your worship, and Councillor Bernard, if it's the wish of the committee for us to investigate whether we can proceed with changes to the schedules without approval by council, we can take that under advisement and come back and let you know.
It just seems like you guys don't want to make a mistake, and you're kind of going every little bit, but I think when we approve an increase, we approve an increase. Where it goes in the document is up to operational, but we've approved it. And so, to me, if the MGA is saying different, which we've never done this before, but if the MGA says we have to, then I think in the one resolution when we passed it, we add that it also, yeah.
Yeah, so if that's your wish, we'll go back and see if we can.
And again, we've not, this is the first time I've done it, and I know when I was on council, we didn't do this. This fee changes just went through. Now, is it because it's in the schedules and it's not part incorporated in the bylaw itself? Maybe that's where the MGA, or it was the Municipalities of Prince Edward Island Act that we were governed under previous to MGA that allowed the schedules to be changed. That's all we have to find out. So if we can just defer it until we find that out, if it has to be passed, I'll have no problem passing. But that means every year we'll have to do the same thing.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, correct me if I'm wrong, understanding is we're going to kind of defer this back to staff. It won't be going to the next council meeting till Dan, you and team can confirm if what we're proposed here is necessary or not. Is that, we all good? Okay. 6C, tenders, RFQs. Betty, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is our monthly report showing the status of the various tenders since the last meeting. It lists the status, whether they're open or closed, what's been, when they were posted, when the deadline is, and any comments relating to them.
Any questions to Betty on that? Mayor Brown?
It's always my favorite subject with you, Betty. So we're coming up to end of September, and if you look at our capital budget combined, 65 or 55 million. Where are we tracking right now? Can you give? And if you can't, I can wait. But are we tracking like fully meeting that 6 month or less period that we're keeping up to, maybe spending the 55, or where do you think we're at? Is that a fair question for you, Betty?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to Mayor Brown. I don't have an answer for you right now, but our intention is at the October meeting to bring forward a detailed report. We will be getting comments from the departments as to where their plans are for each project, where they are to date, what their plan is, like how they foresee at the moment, where they'll be at year end. So that should give us a really good idea as we gear up for the next capital budget for the new year.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah, that was 6D, correct? That we just covered?
6C.
Yeah, so, all right, thank you, Betty. And number 7, introduction to new business. Is there?
I do have a question on that before you jump in.
Oh,
That was 6C.
Yeah.
no, that's what okay, that was my question. Councilor Bernard?
Yeah, it's just on 6B, just on the budget. So
Yeah.
it does look to me by the percentages here, the percentage of the budget that's spent so far, we're 6 months in.
We're 4 months in, Councillor Bernard.
April, May, June, July. Yeah, well, okay, so this is only until July? End of August in here? Okay. Okay, so that's why the percentages are low. Okay, no.
Okay, 6D, the monthly financial report. And on that, Betty, if we could put a sidebar after stepping through that, or if there aren't any questions, just wondered if you could give us an update on where we are with the city audit.
Yeah, just before you do that, I'd like to just ask some questions about the statements. So if we look at the budget, first column, 81 million for revenue, and then scroll down to total city operating expenditures, 86.5 million. And that's a deficit of 5.5, but with the prior year operating surplus, 4.4. So it's a balanced budget. Can you just enlighten me on why it's 86 million in expenditures? Betty, and do you see that line item?
I can maybe help. If you just
okay.
scroll down a little further,
Yeah.
you include the water and sewer operations, and it at the bottom of the page, you're at 142,000.
Yeah. Yeah, but can I just go to just city operating? Why would we have, like, we're required by the MGA to present a balanced budget. Is that what we budgeted, 86? Like, that's, to me, I'm just, again, just trying to get an answer. Is there a reason that,
These are the numbers from the 24-25 operating budget. And on a consolidated basis, yes, we are a balanced budget.
when you, so when you put it, compare it to water and wastewater, and you get your bottom line of an annual consolidated operating surplus of 142,000.
That's correct. And these numbers are a little bit different than what you saw last month because we made a concerted effort to make sure that this was grouped in the same way that the budget is. There are some pieces that it's kind of, is it operating or is it capital? And traditionally, we've shown it the way it was in June, but I prefer to show it the same way we have it in the budget.
Right. I'm looking at page 17 in our budget. Yeah. So looking at where we're at right now, Betty, Dan, you feel good? Looks like it's going forward as a well-executed budget?
I think it's looking good. We're a third of the way through the year. We have virtually a third of our revenue in both city and utility. The expenses are a little lower than that, which is a good thing because we have pay raises coming throughout the year, and there are often year-end adjustments that get brought in later in the year. So to have that, to be in the high 20s percentage-wise is a good place to be.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's always good to see water and wastewater because that puts us up a little bit. I know there's a great chair there working there. But year to date, it's 4.2 million. We're doing great. Really appreciate that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, does that conclude 6D?
Just under the
Mayor Brown?
monthly financial statement, I asked earlier about our statements, audited statements. I think we're looking at, what, next month?
Thank you,
Through the
Mr.
chair.
Chair, through to Mayor Brown. Yes, the audit is proceeding well. We met, I believe it was last week or the end of the week before. Stephen and I met with Mac McInnes from MRSB, and things are going well. They still have some pieces that they're working on. We have an actuarial report we're waiting on for them, variance analysis on the various operating pieces, but they're happy with how things are going. We're happy with how things are going. We should wrap it up this month, I would think, and have it ready to come to Finance Committee for the October meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. So, item 7, introduction of new business. Is there?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I want to give
Mayor Brown?
notice of motion. I did bring this up before, and I know that I spoke to St. John, the city of St. John about it, the vacant property tax. Could I just give a notice of motion that we can put something together to look at that? I think I sent out contacts through, in St. John, Kateria works with the office of the mayor, Donna Raridan, about trying to find out what path they're taking, because it does require changes to provincial legislation, so we have to be working with another level of government. So I just, again, just asking to look into that. I'm trying to get some information forwarded to both of you and to the committee. That's,
Yeah, is there any comments, support with the committee on mayor's notice of motion on vacant property tax? Is it supportive of going down that road?
Yep, I am. Sure, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mayor Brown, this duly noted, and that there's nothing else, introduction to new business. All right. 8 is adjournment, motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Bernard, second Councillor Drong. Thank you, adjourned.